Hey, welcome to 21 Questions. It's a trivia podcast that I run. My name is Mike Van Acker, and if you're new here, this is episode 71, so go back and check out the previous 70 episodes. Heaps of trivia there for you to have a crack at. But either way, this is the very first video episode that I have ever released. Crazy times, a bit nervous, see how we go. Let's get started. Question 1, is Shiraz a white or red wine? Shiraz is a red wine, but I feel like you might know that. Question 2, what, starting with K, is the highest mountain in Africa, specifically in Tanzania? That'd be Kilimanjaro. Question 3, an American band that was led by David Byrne was called Talking what? That's Talking Heads. Talking Heads, I was a big fan of Talking Heads back in the day. Psycho Killer and Take Me to the River. They did a version of Take Me to the River that was really cool too. Question 4 is always a true or false in this podcast. I write them to be a bit of a toss of the coin, a bit of a guess. Here we go. True or false? The first international flight by Qantas was to New Zealand. Is that true? Is that false? You know what? That's false. The first international flight by Qantas was to Singapore. It was April 17, 1935. The trip took 3.5 days. The plane was a de Havilland biplane, and the journey required 16 stops. And we think it takes a long time to get to Singapore now. What is it, 6.5, 7 hours? Imagine 3.5 days. And by the way, only 2 passengers could go on that flight. It was not a big plane, so it would have been bumpy and very unpleasant. Let's move on. Question 5, while we're talking travel, is port on the left or right-hand side of a ship? If you're on a ship and facing the front of it, I think that's the bow. Or is it the bow? Oh, I should know this. Look, it doesn't matter. That's not the question I'm asking. Question 5, is port on the left or right-hand side of a ship? It's on the left. That's all I'm saying. And a way to remember it is to go, I left my port in the fridge, or I left my port on the ship. Anyway, left and port. That's the point of it there. Good. Question 6. Is the largest city by population of Ireland Dublin or Belfast? It's Dublin with 1.1 million people. Now, I should tell you, that question is kind of by default has to be Dublin because Belfast is, of course, the capital of Northern Ireland, and Ireland and Northern Ireland are not the same place. Both Ireland and Northern Ireland are ironically on the island of Ireland, but they are separate countries entirely, with Northern Ireland being part of the United Kingdom and Ireland not. Question 7, this one's quite a tricky one. What was the last name of the British sailor whose first name was Tony, who was rescued by the HMAS Adelaide in the Southern Ocean after his boat, which was called the X-eyed Challenger, capsized in 1996? Do you remember this story? He was Tony Bullimore. Tony Bullimore. The story itself, his boat overturned, he crawled up into the hull, he lived in the overturned hull of his boat for 4 days waiting for rescue, and rescue showed up in the form of the HMS Adelaide. The Australian Navy showed up. Happy to do it, Tony. No worries at all. By the way, it cost us $6 million. That's right. We spent $6 million rescuing this man. And I seem to remember a British politician at the time saying, still, it gave your Navy chap something to do. Hey, what? Dickhead. After question 7, we do the first clues for the Who Am I for the EP. Here we go. Who am I? Born in 1936, and if you're paying attention, you'll know that's about the time Qantas flew off to Singapore, but not New Zealand. Born in 1936, I was an American, but my ancestors were Swedish. I passed away in 2024. I was known as a country music singer, a songwriter, a musician, and a film actor. Prior to finding fame, I was a captain and a helicopter pilot in the US Army and a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. Thank you very much. Now, do you know who that is yet? I think you'll know this guy. His last name does sound very Swedish, if that helps. More clues after question 14, if you need them. In fact, even if you don't. Question 8, in which American state is Las Vegas? Las Vegas is in Nevada. Delightful. Question 9. In the human body, the clavicle is also known as what? That'd be a collarbone. Question 10. Who's older out of these two famous women, the actor Meryl Streep or the singer Cyndi Lauper? Now, both of these women had their birthday on the same day. It's the 22nd of June. And at their last birthday, Meryl Streep turned 77 and Cyndi Lauper turned 73. Happy birthday to them both. Question 11 is another true or false. True or false? If one orders Unadon, Unadon, in a Japanese restaurant, the meal brought out to you is venison stew. Is that true? Is that false? That is false, because Unadon is eel. What do you fancy for dinner? Oh, I wouldn't mind a bit of eel. Oh, it's off to the Japanese restaurant for some Unadon. Good eye. Let's move on. Question 12. First broadcast in 1952. What kind of men were Bill and Ben? Okay, so if you're of a certain age, this is a very easy one because it was a famous show. But if you are not, you've probably never heard of Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men. I was born in 1968, but they were still doing reruns of this show well into the late 70s, so I vaguely remember it. I seem to remember Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men, or something like that. Anyway, question 13. Which device, now mostly superseded, was patented on June 23, 1868 by a guy called Christopher Scholes? At one point, every office had them. That was, of course, the humble typewriter. Question 14. The logo of Amnesty International depicts a candle surrounded by what? Is it A, a fence? Is it B, barbed wire? Is it C, children holding hands? It is, in fact, B, barbed wire. More clues now for the Who Am I. If you remember, he was a country music singer, songwriter, musician and actor, Swedish heritage. Who am I? It's alleged I once landed a helicopter in Johnny Cash's yard without prior arrangement or permission sought or any of that good stuff, just to hand him some tapes of my songs. I was a member of the country music supergroup, the Highwaymen. Is that becoming clearer yet? More clues after question 20 if you still need them. For now, though, let's get back to the trivia. Question 15. James Gandolfini played the lead role in which American TV show? James Gandolfini was Tony Soprano in The Sopranos, and that was an amazing show back in the day. Question 16. Was the most recent death by spider bite in Australia A, 1979, B, 2001, or C, last Friday? It was actually C. 1979 was the last recorded death by spider bite in this country. It was a Sydney funnel web spider, and in 1980 they came up with anti-venom for the funnel web spider bite, and so we haven't had one since. So to the international listeners, I've got a lot of them now that say we can't go to Australia, everything's trying to kill us. I want you to know the spiders are not trying to kill you. The snakes, yep, they sure are. They absolutely are. And don't even start me on the crocodiles, but don't go where the crocodiles swim and you'll be fine. And honestly, the snake thing is a little bit overblown. I have lived in Australia, obviously, my whole life. I've seen maybe 7 snakes in the wild, and none of those were the venomous types. Not to say they don't exist, but they're not everywhere like the media would have you think. Anyway, come to Australia. We'd love to have you here. Come to one of my shows at one of my venues if you do. That'd be fun. Let's move on. Question 17. From which musical are the songs Heaven on Their Minds and I Don't Know How to Love Him? That would be Jesus Christ Superstar. Question 18. Which word that starts with L is a catalogue of words from a specific language? That lexicon. In the lexicon of a particular language, it's a list of all their words. Question 19 on this podcast is always a still alive or not so much. Is this person still alive or not so much? Today, Frankie Valli, lead singer of the Four Seasons. Is he still alive or not so much? Frankie Valli, he is alive. He had a birthday in May. He's early 90s, 92, 93 or thereabouts. 93, I think. Question 20 is always a music question. Today we're talking 80s music. Which 80s Norwegian band had a hit with Take On Me? That would be Aha. Remember them? Excellent. Final clues now for the Who Am I? Who am I? I'm known for the songs Help Me Make It Through the Night and Me and Bobby McGee. Both my first and last name start with the letter K. I am Chris Christopherson. How early were you onto that? Did you get it after the second set of clues? Anyone get it after the first set? Pretty sure everyone would have got it by the third one, but you never know. I always say at my trivia shows, trivia is only easy if you know the answer. I know that sounds obvious, but it's nonetheless completely true. Time now for the player question. That's where you, the listener, can send me a trivia question if you like. I do this because, having run trivia shows in venues for 23 years or thereabouts, I know what a charge people get out of suggesting a trivia question and having it appear in the show. People will come up to me all the time and go, got an idea for a cool trivia question, and they'll tell me and I'll put it in the show next week. They love it. So you can send me a trivia question that you like and I'll put it in this section of the show. There's two ways to get that question to me. You can send it to me via Facebook, 21 Questions by Trivia Tribe Facebook page, or you can email me direct, mike@triviatribe.com.au, and at some point I will put it into the show. It won't happen immediately because I've got quite a bank of them, but I will respond to your message to let you know I have received it and the question is on the list. Last episode, Tony sent me a fun question, which was, which two nations were involved in the 50-year-long Whiskey War that only ended in 2022? So this is fun, this story. I'll hit the highlights, but here we go. Since 1973, the Canadians and the Danish, so that's the answer by the way, Canada and Denmark, the Canadians and the Danish have been gently arguing over a small island named Hans Island. It's only like 1 square kilometre, this little island, and it's in the middle of the Kennedy Channel between Greenland and Ellesmere Island. So you'd know that area really well, right? Oh yeah, right between Greenland, Ellesmere Island. I know the spot. Perfect. Anyway, both of those countries claim it, but not in a serious way. It's called the Whiskey War because in 1984, Canadian soldiers went to the island, they planted a Canadian flag, and they left a bottle of whiskey right at the base of the flag. Later that year, a Danish minister, the one in charge of looking after Greenland, showed up with a Danish flag and a bottle of schnapps and a note saying, "Welcome to this Danish island." And so it began, where they took turns planting their flag, leaving a little bottle of alcohol for each other, and this went on for years and years and years, and only ended in 2022 when they decided to put a border down the island and share it. Greenland has 60% of the island, Canada has 40%, and everyone's getting along just fine. That's the Whiskey Wars. That's a great question, Tony. Thank you very much. This episode, Bob has sent me Borbarygmus is the technical term for what biological function? Borbarygmus. I've never heard of it, I don't think. Thank you, Bob. I'll look that up. We'll do the answer next ep. That is 21 questions done and dusted for another episode 71 in the books. Thank you very much for listening. Send me a trivia question if you would like to. This podcast comes out every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Thank you so much for listening. Meet me back here in a couple of days. We'll have another crack at it. I'm Mike Van Acker. I love you. Catch you next time.